I do believe that some of us, before we even get into the dating process, we've already made critical mistakes to the possibility there could be anything long term. And I think that some of these mistakes are happening so frequently, and that's what's leading to the wounding that's happening in our community, where men and women have so much discord because we're not functioning within our roles. Can I say that? Like that, and that's the crazy part, right? Like there's all this discord, and then there are all these rules. Like, well, you can't say that. Anybody can have whatever role in there. It's like, well, is that really working? Is that really working when you think about the dating process? Like, and for the ladies, like, let me ask you, has being assertive actually worked for you? And I'd love to hear from a woman who's been married for over 10 years. She said, I went and found him. Linnell, you're wrong. And we're still married. But if that's not the case, then don't bump my line. Like, because, you're going to be frustrated with how I handle it. Okay. I'm just saying few and very, I just don't know if it works for a woman to discover a man. I just don't know if it works. Somebody was calling and they hung up. Wonder what that, maybe they were like, oh. I just don't know if it works. So I think when it comes back to looking at relationship, there are certain principles that just ultimately make sense.
Change up the things you see. Open your mind to possibilities. Find your power, passion, and purpose. You know it's time for you to walk in greatness. Let's murder mediocrity. Slay your goals, live out your dreams. Now, inspirational perspective. Open your mind to a better life. It's time to live your dream. Your purpose now. Inspirational perspective. Let's slay your goals.
I'm going to talk a little bit about how to date and why. Like, actually, I'm serious, like how to go on a date and why. Because, like, based on the comments, the emails that I saw in the last two shows, what has become clear to me is that something has broken down in how we interact with one another. When I say we interact with one another, men and women who are looking to be in heterosexual relationships, like there's something that is completely broken down. And I saw it in the Discord in the comments last week. And I'll tell you all, it really concerned me. I went through the comments on the live streams, and I'm going to share from my perspective what I saw. I can't say this is 100%. It's a somewhat of a speculation, okay? But here's the speculation, and this is why I think this show is so important. And also keep in mind when I say, how and why to date. If you're married, you're in a successful relationship, I want you to continue listening. Because I think for those of us who are married and in successful relationships, like there is some hardcore mentoring, support, and teaching that we have to do. And I think often running a family can take a lot of our mental space, and we forget that part of what I believe our purpose is to also plant the seeds for family. And so I'm going to be sticking here for a while. And then I'm going to get to family too. Like, this whole, like, what does it take to build a family? But I think we got to, I don't want to put the cart before the horse, because there are people out here who want to have families who simply just, I think, likely may feel a bit disenfranchised with what they feel they are up against. And I say feel, F-E-E-L, on purpose. Feel they are up against. Because I believe a lot of what we're feeling is partially because we lack the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding to properly navigate the field. So, how to date? Like, how do you date? Now, let me go back to this notion of discord that I was talking about here a moment ago. What I noticed, and this is a speculation, but what I noticed is that there were certain single men who got into these argumentative conversations on social media. And I think this is probably something that happens a lot. It just doesn't happen on my platform that much because I'm not talking about relationship, but I'm sure on like people who have relationship platforms, this is something they see all the time, right? But what I notice is like this argumentative commenting, like back and forth with one another, right? And these are people who likely don't know each other in the real world. And I want to point something out. If I'm a man and I am spending time arguing with a woman I don't even know, then how do I believe I will ever be prepared for a relationship unless there's a personal transformation? It's you, bro. With all love, it's you. It's you. Like the reason why you may be alone right now is you. With all the love I have in my heart. Because if we don't get to a place of self-awareness, nothing can ever transform. Like that's what I saw. What I saw brothers doing, I was like, oh no, you can't. If you'll do that with someone who there's no skin in the game, then if a woman has your heart, you don't stand a chance. You're going to be arguing and going back and forth about everything. And what I saw was a hypersensitivity. Now let me explain. Hypersensitivity typically comes from wounds that are unhealed. Like right now, Ade's in the studio with me, and if I had a wound on my shoulder that was not healed and he just tapped me on my shoulder, he didn't do anything wrong, right? He just tapped me on my shoulder. I would go, right? What are you doing? Oh, man, I did what I normally do, right? Now, why am I saying that? I saw the ladies do what they normally do, right? And I know sometimes brothers like, you never say nothing to the woman, you know. Well, hey, look, I think at the end of the day, in order for our community to transform, men must be men. Men must be men. And so I don't know how else to function other than to hold men accountable. All right, so brothers, please don't get in these comment streams arguing. Like, please, man. And I also want to go here, like, and not just to the men, but to the sisters, because I'm gonna stay on relationship until the Creator tells me it's time to move. And it's interesting because like I haven't talked relationships specifically for quite some time. And then all of a sudden, it just dropped in my spirit, and here we are, and here we stay. So we'll see. We'll see how this goes. Sometimes I don't even know, right? But I wanted to talk about that discord because I think that this is a prime example of why we are where we are, and one of the reasons why many times we are relating, and when I say we, men and women in our community are relating to each other the way that we relate to one another. And part of what I'm going to talk about today in terms of how to date and why, because I believe that based on how things are moving in 2024, in the 21st century, when you look at modern dating, I have to explain why you should date. Because in many ways, people don't date anymore. Let me give you an example of what I mean. Last night, in your city, whatever city that you're in, I can say without a shadow of a doubt, somebody went home with someone they didn't know. They haven't dated. And then later this week, they will be disappointed by that individual and not understand why they were disappointed and completely overlook the fact that they did not date them before they laid with them. Like, it won't even be like, ooh, you know what? That was my bad. That was my bad. I moved too fast on that. Why am I surprised, right? Let me get myself together and learn from this, right? It's like, instead, they'll do the same thing in another weekend. And they'll go through this cycle trying to figure out what they're doing wrong because, unfortunately, there aren't many people having honest conversations about what they're doing wrong. Because we now live in a society where everything's okay. And he did what? So then y'all met and you had a good vibe and then you went home with him and then he didn't call you? Girl, no, that's bogus. It was like, well, why aren't we holding her accountable? Like, and I think we're skipping stuff. And then we're trying to figure out what's wrong. And it's like we're skipping hardcore common sense principles. And I believe that we're skipping hardcore common sense principles, not because we're stupid. I think there are a lot of really smart people out here. I think we're skipping it because we don't want to do the work. We're hoping that, and this is not everybody, but we're hoping that we can achieve the same magical relationship that we saw on the last show. See, because you can watch a sitcom or you can watch a movie, and that's kind of how it goes down for them. But we forget that somebody wrote that script. I want to ask a question, and I want the rest of the audience, especially those of you, I would even say those of us who are in relationship, to kind of think about this particular question. And the question is, well, for people who are married, I guess it doesn't really matter. But if you're single, like, do you know how to date? Like, do you know, very simply, how to date? Like the science of dating. Everything is a science. I talk about, goal setting. Goal setting is a science. Dating is a science. My wife and I did a show a few years ago, and she dropped some dating advice. And sisters were like, oh, my goodness, I needed that. It's like, yeah, man, because dating is a science. Dating is a science. And so what I'm afraid is you have a lot of people out here who are complaining about their inability to get in a relationship or complaining about the opposite sex when they don't even understand the science of getting to know or getting to connect to someone of the opposite sex. like the science. So Ade, I'll put you on the spot here real quick, just a little bit. You've been in a relationship before. Would you say that you feel that you know how to date? Like, you know how to date. And let me give a caveat. Let me kind of give you a bit more. Because I think I'm not just talking about the ability to ask somebody out and then show up, right? But I mean like the real like science of dating. Like, okay, I'm going out with you. And when I go out with you, there are things that I'm looking to achieve on this date, right? Because I have expressed some level of romantic, very primary romantic interest in you. And to ensure that I'm not wasting your time and I'm not wasting mine, I'm going to take you through an evaluation. And I'm very clear about what I'm evaluating. So when I express dating in that way, let's go back to that 5-point scale, right? When I express dating in that way, one being, man, now that you say that, I'm not sure that I know how to date at all. And 5 being, absolutely, I have a very clear evaluation process that I take a young lady through when I date them. 5, that being 5, where would you say you are on the how to date meter?
I would say a 3.
A 3?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I say he's a 3.
Yeah.
Titus not in, so we can't turn on your mic. So so a 3. Yeah. And why would you say a 3?
Mainly because, well, I don't know. Maybe I would say a 4 now because I would say a 3 before being around you.
Okay, a 3 before being around me.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Because I guess I would like not consciously ask certain questions that kind of give me an idea of who they are as a person.
Okay.
Before I didn't know, I wasn't clear.
Okay.
What kind of questions I asked them, but I think I pretty much asked the questions that are important to me as far as when it comes to romantic interest and kind of like evaluating how they are as a person. But now since I'm more clear, I have more ideas of I guess of the science, like you said. I'm a little bit more clear.
Okay.
More precise with the question.
All right. And man, I want to get your mic on because I know for those of you in Radio Land, you didn't hear that. So I'm gonna repeat what he said because you all probably heard a murmur in the background. And then do me a favor, tell my Titus to turn your mic on. So what Ade said, for those of you who can on the stream, I'm sure you can hear him because he's in the same room with me. But what he said is that before meeting me, and Ade's worked for me for quite some time, that he's not sure that he actually went into a dating situation with clarity around what it was he's looking to achieve and what it was he was looking to evaluate, but also very clear about what he was looking for. He said, so before meeting me, he would have said that on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being not knowing how to date, 5 being very, very clear about what he's looking to achieve in the dating process, that he would say he's now a 4. So that's what he was sharing. So let me kind of riff off. And by the way, one of the things, like, Ade, I see him as a little brother. Okay, so in a lot of ways, I'll share things with Ade that I won't even say on the radio, and you know that. Like, it's very, and by the way, it's the reason I won't say it on the radio is because some things require lots of context, and it would people would feel alienated. I mean, there's one thing in particular I've told you before about what type of woman to avoid. That that woman would feel alienated if I said that over the radio, and it requires lots of context. Because I don't think it's broad sweeping, but I would say 80-20. Like 80% of the women you run into like that are not the type of woman you want to marry, right? And you probably remember what I'm talking about. So, and I know people are like, "What is he talking about?" I'm not even going there. Not without context. In a closed setting where I could really speak to someone on that topic, I would share it. But in an open setting like this, I'm choosing wisdom. So, how to date. So for those of you listening who are single, who are interested in some type of romantic relationship, I want you to just take a personal assessment for yourself in terms of where you believe you are in your current understanding of what it takes to successfully date. I'm not even saying get into a relationship, but successfully date and evaluate who you should be in relationship with. And first thing I want to say, this is not a shortcut formula, but it will work. Let me say that again. This is not a shortcut formula because in the 21st century, most people want everything fast. And I don't think that when it comes to what you intend to create in your romantic relationship, you want to microwave it. I don't think you want that. And so this is not a shortcut formula, but I guarantee you it will work. How to date. Now, first, let me say this. There's two ways that you end up on a date. There's two ways. One is you ask someone and they accept. And I'm hoping it's the man. I'm hoping, sisters, that you allow the brothers to play their role. And I'm gonna get into why, okay? And then, so I'm asking, and that person accepts. That's one way, how I get into a dating situation. And then another is I am asked, right, likely the lady, and I accept. And it may be apprehensively, right? But I would say this, sisters, like, be thoughtful about just turning down a date unless you don't feel safe. Be thoughtful about just no. Unless for some reason you don't feel safe, or unless that person does not match your your non-negotiables, they clearly hit on your non-negotiables, then I get it. But just, and I'm not saying everybody qualifies for a date. I mean, that's why I'm saying non-negotiables. And like if you don't have a job and I get it. Like, I mean, hopefully that's, one of your strong conditional standards. Because a man should be working if he's looking to date. If he's not working, then he don't have time to date. He needs to be looking for a job. That's my personal, likely old school opinion. Is that old school? I think that's just okay. So those are the two ways we get onto dates. Now, sisters, let me stay here for a second. I've talked to a number of ladies, some of whom are clients, others who are not, who have asked this question about whether a woman can shoot her shot, which is really asking men out, or express some level of interest so we can go out. And here's my answer to that. This is Linnell Harris's answer. I'm not saying this is the gospel, and I'm not saying this is the truth. I'm saying this is Linnell Harris's opinion based on Linnell Harris's experiences, and I got a few. Okay? I got a few, and I coach a lot of people. I see a lot of things. I talk to a lot of men. And so you could take this as you will. I firmly believe that there are a number of ways for a woman to indicate interest without her verbally saying, I want to go out with you. It could be in the eyes. Like, women have so much power. It could be in the body language. You just lean towards them a little bit, and if the brother just don't get it, he just don't get it. But you need to keep insinuating interest, not speaking, right? Insinuating interest, not speaking to the interest, until he gets it. And he verbally asks you out. Now, let me share why. If you take on the leadership role in a relationship, and at the very beginning of that relationship, I'm afraid that you will find yourself continually leading in that relationship indefinitely. Women, listen to me. You want a man who feels as if he's discovered you. Because when you discover something valuable, you treat it a particular type of way. You get where I'm going? Like you treat it a particular type of way. Like, and if he feels like you hunted him down, just consider that you likely will be hunting him down throughout the remainder of that relationship. And I say the remainder because more than likely it won't last. But this is what it looks like. You know, you got him out on a date. You all, started dating. He's like, okay, she's cool. But now, in many ways, the roles have flip-flopped. You've taken on a masculine role. He's taken on a feminine role. And so you're chasing him. There's only a matter of time before, ladies, you get frustrated with chasing him. Because ultimately, you've been built to be chased. Right? And by the way, there are men and women who disagree with this right now. There's some brothers who are like, why she can't, and it's like, just hear me out, okay? The Bible says that a man that finds a wife finds a good thing. It said nothing about a woman finding anything. I believe a woman's role is to be discovered. Now, in order for you to be discovered, you have to be visible, okay? Right? You got to be visible, which is why I have no problem with a woman making eye contact to show interest. Like I tell my clients all the time, like, well, make eye contact. Let them know, like, if you come over here, there's an invitation. Like, I'll speak with you. But I do believe that some of us, before we even get into the dating process, we've already made critical mistakes to the possibility there could be anything long term. And I think that some of these mistakes are happening so frequently, and that's what's leading to the wounding that's happening in our community, where men and women have so much discord because we're not functioning within our roles. Can I say that? Like that, and that's the crazy part, right? Like, there's all this discord, and then there are all these rules. Like, well, you can't say that. Anybody can have whatever role in there. It's like, well, is that really working? Is that really working when you think about the dating process? Like, and for the ladies, like, let me ask you, has being assertive actually worked for you? And I'd love to hear from a woman who's been married for over 10 years. She said, I went and found him. Linnell, you're wrong. And we're still married. But if that's not the case, then don't bump my line. Because, you're going to be frustrated with how I handle it. Okay. I'm just saying, I just don't know if it works for a woman to discover a man. I just don't know if it works. Somebody was calling and they hung up. Wonder what that. Maybe they were like, oh. I just don't know if it works. So I think when it comes back to looking at relationship, there are certain principles that just ultimately make sense and have worked for millennia, and that we just have to get back to. That's one of them. Okay. And when I say that's one of them, I'm talking about women who are actively pursuing the man. Like, it doesn't work long term. It doesn't work. One of the reasons I believe it doesn't work, I'll give you a perfect example. The etymology of the word husband is I believe, is Greek origin. And maybe I should look this up, but I believe I remember this. And the etymology of the word is house bond. house bond. So it is the man that creates the bond for the house. Now, that's the etymology of the word. So some people come and say, well, I disagree, it's the woman. The etymology of the word husband, right, is house bond. Like house bond. And so why is that important? I believe that one of the reasons that the husband is the bond for the home is because of his consistency in how he does things. Like men, it's predictable, right? We talked about masculinity being predictable, on point, on time. You can't build a house on things that move around and shake, right? You can only build a house on solid ground. And so a husband's solid commitment to the home is how it's built. Everything can be built on that. The children feel it. The wife feels it. Everybody feels safe because I am bonded to my home. This is where I always, like a boomerang, I always come back, right? There's not a night I've spent, outside of my home. Okay. So one of the most important things, I believe, if we get into, dating 101, is understanding that a date ultimately has a goal. And I believe that, unfortunately, many of us are dating without a very clear goal. Like, what am I looking to achieve? And then for some of us who have a goal, I believe that goal is likely a lot more surface than what we may even know. So I'm going to use you again, Ade. We're going to get you all situated and set up, brother. I want to see you with a good woman, man. So, Ade, what would you say is your goal for dating? Speak up so that I'll repeat what you say since your mic isn't on yet. But what would you say is your personal goal for dating? Like, if you're dating, ultimately, what are you looking to achieve?
Ultimately, marriage, and then marriage after marriage, family.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Ade said, ultimately, marriage, and after marriage, family. So then, would it be safe to say then that when you're dating, that you're evaluating whether this woman is, one, marriage material, and two, whether or not she would be a phenomenal co-CEO to run a family?
Yes.
Yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You just basically, I would say there are people listening right now who are like, oh. Because if you're not dating, like, here's the thing, like almost everything, you have to be focused on the full-time vision. Like, what is the overall arching vision? And so if I'm dating and I'm not even clear about that, it's like, well, I just want to be with somebody. And then what happens. It's like, well, you're setting yourself up. And I'm afraid that some of these very simple, like I said, this is not a shortcut formula, but it will work. It's not a shortcut formula, but it will work. So you're looking for a co-CEO. A co-CEO that will support you in running a family. Okay, you want children?
Yeah.
You do? Okay. You know how many children you want? Two?
Yeah.
2 max?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And so what that would mean is that in the dating process, it will be important for you to ensure that she's willing to have at least 2 children.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. It might seem like really simple. I'm afraid that people go out on first dates and some of this never comes up. You know what we talk about? So what you do Oh, that's the kind of work with you. How long you been doing that work? All surface stuff. Like, how long you been doing that work? So where you go to high school? So then what college did you go to? And I'm not saying anything's wrong with those type of questions in the dating process, but they don't get you anywhere. They don't. And if you're dating, like, I only want to date an Ivy League man, like, you're in trouble. Like, you know, you're in like, oh, you didn't go to that school, I'm done. Like, you're in trouble. Let me tell you why real quick, the reason you're in trouble. Because an Ivy League man, the probability of dating an Ivy League man is very, very low. Number one, right? There's not many of them. Which means that if you follow step one that I gave for ladies, like don't go asserting yourself to date a man, you have to wait for him to approach you, which means that you have to wait for that guy to approach you, which means if an Ivy League man never approaches you, you never get married. It's that simple, right? Okay. So here's some other things that I would have you consider in this dating process, right? One is ultimately a question around family, which I believe you said family for you is the ultimate, like that's the ultimate goal, marriage, family, children. Okay. So then you come back and you say, okay, I'm looking for someone who's willing to have a family. But then the other thing I would say in terms of how to date is you also want to be evaluating the impact that individual will have on your 4 pillars. And here's what I mean by 4 pillars. Titus, you're here now. Can you turn Ade's mic on for me? But the impact that person will have on your 4 pillars. So number one, will this individual support a healthy lifestyle? Like, will I be healthier as a result of or less healthy? Will my relationships enhance? Like, so with this person's network extend my network? Will it enhance my network? Or will it, in some ways pull my network down? And I want to be very clear. I'm going to be very straight on the show. Some people might be offended, but I'm just trying to help good men find good women and good women be discovered by good men, okay? I remember dating some time ago, years ago, and the young lady I was dating, I found out that her father was addicted to crack. Okay? I didn't know that. And then later I found out that, she had individuals in her family who were suffering bipolar, and that the overall family structure that she came from was dysfunctional and chaotic. If I had married her, I would have been joining myself to dysfunction and chaos. And what I thought about, and one of the reasons I ended the dating, was because if the ultimate goal is family for me, that means that my children would more than likely be exposed to her family. And if my children are exposed to her family, that means that there's an influence on my seed that I can't control, and that's not the type of influence I want. And so I think we're going to stop dating. When we say the 4 pillars, but just in case you're listening this first time you're hearing me, you don't know what the 4 pillars are: health, relationship, work, and money, right? My wife has had an impact on my finances in a good way. Like, I make more money because she's in my life, right? So work, money, and then ultimately purpose and spirituality. Okay? She's had an impact on my purpose and my spirituality. Titus, you're with us now. And so I'm curious before I take some phone calls, I'm curious about where you are. I love to get other men's opinion, right? So I have 2 questions for you. The first is, on a scale of 1 to 5, where would you say you are in terms of your overall knowledge for properly, powerfully dating?
I would say realistically maybe a 2.
A 2? Okay. All right. You came out with it. All right. I'm in. All right. Why a 2?
Because like you said earlier, I was listening, and it's just, I feel like I'm intentional on what I want, but because of how the dating world is now, it makes it a little I wouldn't say make it a little harder, but it's kind of conflicting when you're trying to show interest in someone and then they're not on the same page, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, if they're not on the same page, that means the date's over.
Yeah. I mean more so of like you said earlier, trying to express your values of what you believe in, and that trying to get to know somebody. I think that it's harder now to put in the effort to get to know someone because the world is just moving so fast paced now. A lot of women don't necessarily sit down to try to engage in conversation of getting to know someone. It's all about just me now type thing. So it's kind of harder as a man to try to get to learn and know someone when they're always moving, if that makes sense.
Oh, okay. I get where you're going. So you're dating someone, the sister's so busy that it's like she's coming and going. It's very difficult to get to know who she is. I see. Give me an example to make sure I'm not assuming.
No. This is exactly it. Okay. So earlier this year, I went out with a young lady, and I'm trying to get to know her, through text messages, phone calls. This, like you said, going on a couple coffee dates, trying to learn who she is and express my values. But it just seems like when you're trying to learn someone new, for instance, with her, it was all about her, I, and what she's bringing to the table. And then I'm just like, I'm good on that because of the fact is that you're moving too fast. I can't genuinely have an actual conversation with you because of the fact is that you're not really mentally here on the same level as me right now. So it was just something that I just had to let go.
Got you. Good move. Okay. Good move. Yeah. I got that. Okay. Let me say this, then I'm going to take some phone calls. I think one of the most important things about the dating process that we should understand is that the dating process is just that. It's a process. Let's not take it so seriously. It's not the relationship. It's the process. And so because dating, and this is one of the reasons I believe it's really risky to sleep with someone that you're just dating. There's no commitment. Because we talked about that tether before, right? So now I'm tethered to you and you kind of moving like this. I might string it out, not might, more than likely will string it out much longer than it should have gone if I've been physically intimate with you, right? Because now I'm tethered in some way. Or I'm looking to just fulfill at least that part, get that level of satisfaction. So I'm going to, kind of kick the can and allow things to happen that otherwise I wouldn't allow to happen. And by the way, I'm speaking to men right now. Because sometimes if the lady is like, well, I'm down for that. I don't know anything about you yet. You haven't really qualified in terms of somebody I want to be in a relationship with. But because we have this thirst and this, quote unquote need for sexual satisfaction, we'll say, she's going to lay with me. I'm cool with that. We'll do it. But then we're confused. We're trying to, you did that. Are you going to move? And let's be clear. Some sisters are moving a bit different now. I mean, they'll do that with you and keep moving at the same pace. Right? So, one of the things we talked about in the last show is that the brother is actually giving something away. You're giving your chi away. And then I think sometimes we get confused when I gave my chi away. Now I'm chasing my chi. Right? And it's not even the relationship anymore. It's the energy that I'm chasing. I gave so much energy, I just want it to work. And that can happen to us too. And I think we forget that we are vulnerable human beings. And so we got to remember that and protect ourselves. Anita, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. How are you?
I'm well.
Okay. Well, first of all, I think if we go back to the teenage level, we kind of get along with who we get along with, and we was kind of honest for the most part of what we didn't like. And anyway, but as a woman, if I'm dating, or when I was younger, I'm going to put it on when I was younger, sex was definitely not something I considered because I knew a child would come out of that. My mother was widowed, so I didn't take a woman taking care of me without a partner well. So sex was not something I was considering unless you could handle the whole thing. the the maintenance of me and when I get pregnant, because my family educate our children ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We don't rely on the school district. So I'm going to need things to do that. Not expensive things, but time, love, support, consideration. Okay, because expensive sometimes isn't that great.
That's the most expensive. I love that
Right.
you said that, Anita, because there are many men out here who have resources that they will try to use the resources as a way to alleviate the time that's necessary to build a relationship. As you're saying. Can I ask you a personal question?
Yeah.
Are you married or single?
Well, my husband and I divorced,
Okay.
but we had 6 children. And it turns out he was American Indian, and I didn't know it. And our values about certain things was clashing. I just found out he was American Indian. His mother told my daughter.
Okay. So
we
you're
had a
currently
clash on
single?
that. I'm married again, but my husband got really, really sick, but it was an Arab. And he was Muslim because my first husband was Muslim too. He followed Elijah Muhammad and all of that. So I had a great when it comes to that. But sometimes how a person grows up can clash with you even though you have the same goals. So like I said, the risks are there, when you're dating, because you just don't know everything. But you got to be willing to hang in there whether it works or not. And the good part grows even if the other part is dissolved. God will still continue the good part you had between that person to grow.
Okay, so Anita, you're currently married?
Right now, I'm not. I'm single. And guess who talks to me? Younger men. They like to talk to me, I guess, because I have, a lot of information or whatever. I don't know. I definitely don't take care of men, so that couldn't be a consideration.
So would you consider being married again?
I have 10 grandchildren, and some of them have special conditions, the parents of my grandchildren. And I have to find somebody really serious and real devoted. I don't need a spectator. I would have to really consider that person, and if he has the time to allow me to do what I have to do, so I don't take all the time.
I'm asking for a reason. So, is it something that you desire, like a romantic relationship? Is that something that you still desire?
If you ever take care of children by yourself and you have no husband and you don't believe in birth control, and even if you did do something, you're thinking about sexually transmitted diseases and all this, it's tiring emotionally to do this parenting by yourself. So you definitely need that. And you know what? I lack that right now, but you got to find ways to relax and stay in prayer. And that's unnatural. I don't think he asked you to fast.
Yeah, Anita, but you can say I don't want to answer the question. I'm okay with that. But I'm asking because the show was about creating a romantic relationship, and you called in. And just to stay on topic, I'm just curious, like if you're willing to go through the dating process again to create a romantic relationship.
That's what I was trying to tell you. That marriage requires all of that because parenting is not something you want to challenge alone.
Okay, so is that a yes?
Yeah, it comes with the territory. If you're trying to raise your children in a married situation, they say, married people don't be together. That's crap because you got to have that for the children. You're giving out, and that partner is giving you back. And so it balances instead of you just giving like that. That's not healthy and it's not natural. So
okay, got you.
Yeah.
So let me ask you another question then. So, what I do like about this conversation, Anita, is that you're proving that no matter where a woman is, no matter where a woman is, that relationship is possible. So, your first marriage, there was a divorce. You had 6 children by your first husband, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then with 6 children, did you find him or he found you?
We met at the masjid on 73rd and Stony Island.
Okay. Who approached who?
Pardon me?
Who approached who?
I guess we were in a committee for the youth, and we were volunteering. And I think he started talking to me just as random talking.
Who approached who?
I think he did. Yeah, I didn't necessarily approach him, even though I thought he was interesting, but I wasn't thinking dating because I was in college. I wasn't thinking.
Okay.
So, and he was a little older, and so, I just wasn't.
This is the second husband, right? Or the first husband we were talking about?
That was my first one, yeah.
The first husband. So the first husband approached you. The second husband, who approached you? Did he approach you or you approached him?
His friend. His friend was looking for him a wife. And he owned 7-Eleven and gas stations, which he got rid of because he didn't want to sell alcohol and lottery tickets because they believe in men taking care of family. His friend, he said, I'm looking for somebody for a wife. He needs a wife. And we're Muslim, so I understood. And that's how we met. He did. And then he was there one day. I came in, and he said, oh, he's here. He said, he kept bugging me, and I didn't want to be bothered, really, because I was moving on with my life. And so I stopped, and I asked my great uncle, I said, well, what do you think I should do with this guy? He said, well, if you're going to marry him, don't take a long time. He was saying that's not, it's not healthy to, I guess have sex and all of that. Because he was married to my great aunt for however many years, over 50 years, and she passed. Yeah, he was slightly younger than her.
Okay, so I heard twice. You've been married twice, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And both instances, they approached you. The men approached you.
Yeah, but I had to decide if I wanted that or not, too, though.
Oh no, I'm not. Of course, absolutely. You had to say okay, but the men approached you. So if you were to be in a romantic relationship again, given your success, in terms of 2 marriages, however they broke down, we're not talking about that, but just getting into the relationship, what I'm hearing is that you allowed yourself to be found.
If you don't, then you can just block yourself out of a blessing that you possibly could have. Okay,
I got it. One of the things for the single sisters listening, especially for the young ones, the younger ones, I want you to notice that the 2 sisters who called in particular Anita, in terms of them being married, there's a way of being around, like, I have something. I got something I can give, right? And there's also what I noticed with both, a certain level of worthiness around, I ain't just going to be with any dude and you ain't just going to lay with me. And I find it, and what I find fascinating, well, whatever you want to say about them in terms of, how they express themselves, like, they got men. They got men, okay? And I saw a few comments, like, hey, answer the question. By the way, brother, he was like, this is what most men have to deal with, the mindset of a woman, just getting them to answer a simple question. If you're going to be married, and this, I'm again, like brothers, if you're going to be married, understand that you will not get simple answers to simple questions. Like some things we can't let that take us out. Okay? Like, I have yet to meet a man who says that his wife directly answers all his simple questions. Now, brothers, if you got that wife, God bless you. And then call me and tell me what your secret is. Okay? But I think what a lot of us men, we're looking for something like us. Women aren't like us. We answer simple questions. I sit here, as I date, entitled simple questions. They answer the questions. I don't expect it of my sisters. I just don't. We have to notice what our expectations are, right? Now, I know how to get to the answer. I'm going to keep asking. The first time I asked my wife if she liked me, do you think she answered that simple question? No. No. It was a simple yes or no question. She did not answer that question. She was like, well, what do you mean if I like you? I mean, I think you're cool. She didn't answer the question. Women, brothers, y'all got to stop being frustrated by female things, by feminine things, okay? That's all. I mean, we got to notice that.
Happy that you brought up the subject. I think all our young people They need to have healthy relationships, and they need to take their time, date, and find out about the person, and have the person, like, if you want to get married, that person should be your best friend. And,
okay.
A lot of times, guys, my experience, and I'm a senior citizen, but, they first thing they want to do is go to bed because they want to see, okay, are we sexually compatible? And so,
so Katie, can I, and I know you got some years on me, but you just, in terms of why men want to get you in bed, it's because that's how we're wired. That is,
yes,
so let me say this to the sisters.
It's not healthy.
Well, no, it's not. I'm not saying this. I'm not saying it's healthy at all. What I am saying is how we're wired. And I want to say this to sisters. I want to say this to sisters right here. So I just reprimanded the brothers for being, for like, oh, sisters don't answer the questions. And I'm like, look, man, woman gonna be a woman. She's not gonna answer the questions. Sisters, you have to notice being offended by a man that wants to sleep with you. Like, that means you're gonna be offended by every man. Just about. Okay? It's the woman's job to set that boundary. Now, do I think brothers should slow down a bit? Absolutely, 100% I do. 100% I do. And let's be clear that even in his discipline, if he begins to see that he likes you, you get where I'm going? He's going to be like, man, what's up? And notice being offended by that. The fact that he is sexually attracted to you. That's how men are wired. Like that to me, that's not grounds for being like, I'm done with you. It's more so grounds to say, hold on now. There's some things we still need to establish that aren't established.
Yes, but my granddaughter, who's in college, and I ask about her, what's going on out there. Yes, and but I sort of sense things are not good. And she said that this guy wanted her to go to bed, and because of the fact that she said that she is not going to. You have to date me. She said you have to, be friends.
Set the boundary.
And date me. We're not going to hope. Yeah, we're
set
not
the boundary.
Even there, it's the man's. That's how they do things because they're the speakers. It's not good, and I think we can have better relationships and better marriages. Hold off on that sex and get to know the person and see if that person's life lines with what you want for yourself.
100%. I agree. Katie, have you been married?
Yes, I have been married, and it was horrible because I was young, and it was back in the old days, and where they were talking about freedom and sex and all that kind of stuff, and so but some women was able to I think not do the things that was harmful that I did. So yeah, I was married for about 10 years, and I had no idea how to keep a man and how to build a family. I did not know.
Wow, thank you for that honesty, Katie.
But I learned a lot from it.
Yeah.
And now I'm able to talk with my daughter and my granddaughter about slow your ropes and have the man date you, be friends, see what his family like, where he comes from. That's very important for our young people.
100%. I agree.
But yes, it's still a lot because you have a lot of work to do because you have to talk to these men because a lot of them still out here. They want to jump into bed first.
Well, you know what, Katie? That's probably not a conversation I'm going to have a lot of luck with because that's how men are wired. That's how from the beginning of time. Let me just from the beginning of time, Katie, men, their sexual desire has pushed them to get as much as they can from a woman, as quickly as they can from a woman. Okay.
Yeah, but isn't that horrible?
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Well, I think it's one of the reasons why it's so important to find a godly man. Number one, someone who yields to God first. And even then, that man, one of his innate struggles will be his sexual desire. So this is what I mean. Like, in terms of us understanding one another, the woman sets the sexual boundary. Let me be very, and thanks for the phone call, Katie. Let me be very clear about this, okay? I'm gonna put myself in it, all right? When I met my wife, and after the first date, I realized that, man, this woman has my, the values that I'm looking for. This woman has a value, and then after a couple of weeks, because I kind of was like, well, she's a professional woman. She probably don't even know how to cook, blah, blah, blah. Because, by the way, those are things that men like, things that men want, right? Wasn't just a pretty face. I'm like, she probably don't even know how to cook. Then I realized she knew how to cook. As her value began to increase for me, and by the way, cooking is a learnable skill set. Sisters, that will do you well to know if you're serious about relationship. Well, he can learn how to cook. It's like, well, then at the same time, he can say, well, she can learn how to change the oil. She can learn how to take the trash out. We got to get out of this whole, gender agnostic type of you want to be with somebody, there's a role that you play, okay? Now, men are going to go for sex. I remember my wife and I, we went on this date. It rained really hard, and she kept the boundary up. It rained really hard that night, and it was storming real bad. And we came back to the house, and I told her, I'm like, you shouldn't go home. You should stay here. Yeah. It's safe here. And she looked at me, and she was like, you can stay on the phone with me as I drive to make sure I get safely home, right? She set a boundary. Now, do you think if she stayed, that as a man, a red-blooded man, I was going to be like, well, here's the guest bedroom. You get we got to, a man is going to be a man. We have to stop being offended by men being men and women being women. Women don't answer straight questions, brother. Stop being offended. Men are going to want to sleep with you. Stop being offended. Set a boundary. If he's disrespectful, don't talk to him again. If he is respectful, don't cut him off because he had a sexual desire towards you. That's natural. Okay. We follow? All right.
But as one who have been, and you don't have to ask me, as one who has been down the aisle 4 times.
You've been married 4 times, Mama D.
4 times. I believe just because one man made you cry does not mean you should never laugh again.
Well, you know what, Mama D, but I think this proves my point that there's a particular way of being that a wife has. And we could discuss, I'm not going to get into what caused the breakdown of the marriages, but Mama D, you know how to get a man.
And you know what? The secret is presently I'm legally separated, and my Earth Day birthday, August 28th, I was 79 years.
That's my daughter's birthday. You know that? You all share a birthday. You and Rain.
Oh, wow.
That's amazing. And a happy belated birthday, by the way.
Well, thank you. And at my age, I am still being pursued. But I think that you gave the clue when you said men want to make the first step. They don't want to be. Didn't you say something like that?
I did. Well, here's what I said is women should allow the man to make the first step, to be the aggressor. And women can, and a man will accept. But you cannot expect the man who you pursued to then turn around and pursue you. And
I think men prefer dresses and skirts to blue jeans and cowboy boots.
100%. Now, this is going to be touchy, right? Because 100% I agree with you. And I'm going to check with the 2 men in the studio with me right now. For the woman that you marry, right? Because we're going to talk about marriage. We ain't talking about what looks good on the street, okay? For the woman that you marry, how would you prefer that she presents herself to the world? In halter tops and yoga pants, or dresses and skirts? Like,
Easily for me, dresses and skirts.
Same. Yeah.
Same. Are you kidding me? But don't y'all look at the yoga pants?
I'll say it like this. It's more of an attention thing, but it's not something I would pursue. And what I mean by that is that, it's nice to look at, but it's not like I'm trying to wife that person, if that makes sense.
Got you. So she can fall out. Okay, you're like, if you're going to show everything, I don't know if I want you. Right. Okay.
It's just looking.
Right. Okay. So both the men agree with you, Mama D. I had to just do a check-in real quick.
Share this with you. Just yesterday, I was at the gas station, and this was an Arab guy, and he was taking care of my tires. And there was a woman who got out the car, and she had some short. They were more like one of those Z strings or something. It was up the yang with both cheeks hanging out. And
that's the thing right now, though.
But he said, I said, isn't that, why aren't you? He said, no, I don't look at that. I said, what? No, when I said, you mean to tell me they're showing you so much that you don't want to see anymore?
Well, here's the thing. Yeah, I think you'll get, and this is, I like this because we're talking about the interaction between men and women and how to date and why, right? And men, when we begin to get serious about relationship, we're looking for a particular type of woman. And if she dresses that way, what she doesn't realize is, hey, society says she should be able to walk down the street like that and not be harassed or touched or any of those things. And I firmly agree with that. And I will do my best to defend that. I believe that, right? And at the same time, I don't want her, though. And I believe that most men would say the same. Now, let me put it with this, too. I have had clients who are, quote unquote, social media famous. And one of the clients hired me because she basically got her fame by wearing swimsuits and things like that on social media. And she was trying to figure out how to rebrand herself. Why? Because she realized that she could not get into a successful relationship with social media fame that came from not wearing clothes. So how do I rebrand myself, create sponsorships and things like that, Linnell, where I can change my image so I can have a family? So, Mama D, you hit on something this morning.
And I'd like to also say this. Mm-hmm. One of my husbands was 10 years younger, and one was 11 years younger.
Wow. Okay. So, all right. Well, Mama D, thanks for the phone call. I appreciate you. 4 marriages. And the reason I think this is important is I want sisters to see that there's a certain type of energy, right? There's a certain type of energy. You don't have to put yourself out there for a man. All you need is that particular type of feminine energy, and it becomes a magnet for men. But it's like you got to tune into the energy. And I think sometimes getting mentorship from older sisters who can help you, like, nah, girl, take that off, put that on.
And you know what's funny, Linnell? I got this one friend who I'm really cool with. I'll say she's my female best friend. And she always tells me, like, I can't find a good guy or this, that, and the third. But I'm like, I tell her my advice is basically, you got to change what you're wearing and your habits and your energy. And she's like, well, all these guys pursue me and they only want one thing. And I'm like, well, that's because you make it easy. You make it accessible for them to want to pursue only that one thing. Mm-hmm. So when you change and set boundaries, then that way things will change eventually for you.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think one of the things we're trying to do is to your point, Titus, is push nature to the side. If a woman, and here's the thing, like, y'all can get mad at me all you want, but I'm telling you how men operate. If a woman is dressed in a particular way, it's going to cause him to pursue you in a particular way. He's going to see you that way. Oh, he should grow up. Men should do this. Men should do a whole lot that we just don't know how to do. Period. We're wired in particular, like we were created in a particular way. So if you're dressed that way, then it makes me think that way, right? Whereas you're dressed the way I want my wife, the same guy will pursue two different women, two different ways. And respect one in a way like you're going to be my wife one day, and come at the other and say things he would never say to woman number two. And it's based on her energy. It's based on how she shows up in the world, period. And you can say how it's supposed to be, and society says this, and we 2024 and women should be. You can do all that you want to do, and you'll be single. So you're a mature man. You're looking to date. How's that going for you?
It's going great.
So you're out. You're dating. You're I'm guessing taking women out and getting to know them.
Yeah, I put a backstop because I'm really working in my business now.
Okay.
And I'm more focused energy in that.
Okay.
That's where it's at. But if a woman come along that I enjoy and we line up doing the same thing or fits my criteria, my expectation, we can roll with that. But I want to take a detour on that, but I want to make sure I stay focused on what I'm doing.
Okay. Now, let me correlate something here to what Freddie just said. Freddie, from what I know of you, you're a good brother. Take care of yourself. Freddie be in the gym. I mean, in Ghana, I remember getting up to go to the gym. Typically, I'm the only one. I get in the gym. Freddie's already there. He already sweating. I'm like, man, brother, you beat me in the gym. Anyway, so what I heard you say, Freddie, and this is what I believe is part of the criteria that women should evaluate, is a man doing his work? Is a man to me, there's simple things that women can look at as to whether or not they accept when a man comes. And it's like, are you doing your work? What I heard is you're doing your work. Did you have a question for me this morning, Freddie, or you just want to share that comment?
Well, if you're going to put for me, just that once a man stay focused, is that the right thing to do? I know it's the right thing to do because you keep on, and I'm just like you keep on putting in, for instance, on it. When a man follows his dreams and goals, the woman's going to come. You always say that all the time.
Uh-huh.
And when you stay focused, things will start lining up. Am I right? Is that
yes and no. Okay. Because you are a man, my answer is going to be different. Okay. And I want the brothers to hear this. I think this is a great way to end today's show. When you are ready to be in relationship, Freddie, your energy can't be split, man. It can't be, well, if she comes, she comes. If she doesn't, she doesn't. It has to be, I am looking for what I said was a co-CEO, someone who I can build with. And you create very clear intentions and a very clear conditions of satisfaction list, right? My non-negotiables, my conditional standards. Once you've done that, if you're clear, Freddie, if you're clear, there's going to be something inside of you as a man that begins to say, man, I want that right now. Because most men want what they want right now. That's why the sisters are complaining, right? Why they keep coming at me physically? Because I want what I want right now. And it don't change. I'm a married man. And as a married man, when I see my wife, I want what I want. She be like, we're going to be late. I want what I want right now. I don't care, right? You know, so like, who cares about being late, right? That's how we're wired. So what I'm saying to you, Freddie, is this. You have to be so clear on the woman that you desire that if she showed up, you would take her right now. right? Like, I'm so clear. And what that clarity does, it puts you in the dating game, in the dating pool in a different way. Because now I'm searching for her, right? Again, remember that Proverbs 18:22 says, he who finds a wife, right? So you have to be looking for her. And if you think you're just going to work and sit back and, you're going to happen upon her, I don't know about that, Freddie. Like, you have to be looking for her. You have to have the qualities that you're looking for, the non-negotiables, the conditional standards so clear that every woman you walk in, you're like, does she meet? Does she love God? Does she, like, oh, okay. What, like, and that's how you find a wife. You get where I'm going, Freddie?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I agree.
So if there's anything in you right now where you're kind of like half speed, consider that it may be a place, the apprehension might be a place where there's still a wound. And there might be some work to do to ensure that the sensitivity of that wound is fully healed. Because I believe when a man is fully healed, he goes into overdrive looking for his woman, if his work is in place. You get where I'm going?
I don't want to, I agree with you saying, but, like I said, I've been, married several times. And
how many times you been married, Freddie?
Twice.
So you two times, okay.
Yeah.
And would you say there's still some wounds from those fractured relationships?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
Because I don't bring them up.
Well, no, I'm not talking about what you bring up. I'm talking about wounds that might still exist that will cause apprehension for another marriage.
Put it this way, I want to make sure that it works, that going through those things, once you get into a relationship, you want to make sure that it's when you financial things together and you want whatever you accomplish, you lose all that again, the people that you met, the family that you build, because all those people that you build a relationship, that hurts. All those people you met, your family members and mother-in-law.
Those fractured relationships, yep.
Yes. See, I don't want to go through that again.
So Freddie, consider this. And I've only been married once, but before I ever got married, you would think I've been divorced because I was like, I ain't, the pain of this boyfriend-girlfriend breakup was too much for me.
Yeah.
Just do a self-assessment to ensure that you're fully healed. That's number one. Number two, and I heard you say, yes, I am. So I'm going to trust that. Number two, then also believe, and this is what I had to come to, that because I'm a man who now fully understands commitment, that as a man, if I become a husband, house bond, right, that I can bond my house, that I'll never be divorced again. You got to get to a point in your mind where, hey, because I know I can be a husband, that I'll never be divorced again. And if I can bond my house in the way that I should, if I show up the commitment that I should, I don't have to worry about divorce anymore, which means I can go all the way hardcore for the woman I'm looking to be with and take to the next level. That support you, brother?
Yes.
Thank you for watching Inspirational Perspective. If you love this show and you want to see more content like this, you can go right here. And if you like this subject and you want to see much more content that we have available for you, just click the button here. As always, thanks for watching. Be sure to watch the show live, 7 a.m. every Sunday morning on WVON Radio, or you can catch it right here on YouTube or Facebook.com/Coach Liddell Harris. Be sure to hit that like button. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe so we can get more content just like this to you.